All right. Welcome back to our series on object relations theory. I'm Dr. Susan Kavaler-Adler. I'm the founder and executive director of the Object Relations Institute for Psychotherapy and Psychoanalysis. And we had founded the Institute in 1991, and I've been the executive director for all these decades. I also am a theorist myself and have my own theories as an American object relations theorist. But today I'd like to talk about a very well-known and very liked theorist, D.W. Winnicott, who's one of the main British object relationists that, of course, we teach a great deal from his work in my institute. And I have much of his theory in my writing and my teaching. So I want to talk today about his paper on the capacity to be alone and the whole idea of how developmentally the capacity to be alone develops. Winnicott does take a developmental perspective in a very explicit way, and that somewhat differentiates him from Klein, because Melanie Klein, her theories are very developmental as well as psychodynamic, but she doesn't present them in a developmental way. But D.W. Winnicott, since he was a pediatrician and worked with mothers and children and infants, he was very much thinking in developmental terms. So his theories are explicitly developmental. And the theory of the capacity to be alone, which is one of his well-known papers, is about how a child needs a mother to be able to be with the child in an attuned, emotionally attuned way for the needs of the child, be with her, be emotionally present, but not intrude, or in his words, impinge with her own needs or her own narcissistic wishes to be recognized at that point, just to be with the child where the child is. And in Margaret Mahler's theory of separation-individuation, we get to the rapprochement stage, which is very important, where the mother needs to start to be a mother of separation, not just a more symbiotic mother or a transitional stage mother, but a mother of rapprochement, where she's a mother of separation. And they're mothers who have character disorders of narcissistic, borderline, schizoid kind of disorders aren't able to be there with the child when the child is becoming more of an individual with their own autonomy and voicing their own needs, wanting to share things with the mother from their own play and rapprochement. The mother needs to be able to be emotionally attuned and respond to the child without intruding or impinging with her own agenda or her own needs. And that's what allows a mother to be a good mother of separation, not just of the earlier stages of dual unity, in Winnicott's words, or symbiosis, in Margaret Mahler's words. So the whole idea of the capacity to be alone in Winnicott's paper relates to Margaret Mahler talking about rapprochement in the separation-individuation phases. And this developmental stage for Winnicott is also related to the therapist and patient, because Winnicott always spoke in analogies between mother and child and therapist and patient. So he's also talking about the therapist being able to be with the patient without impinging or intruding at times when the patient is not ready for interpretations of their unconscious, but just needs the therapist to be there for their true self to develop, in Winnicott's terms. Then the therapist needs to be more aware and attuned and empathic with where the patient is. And if they didn't get this earlier on with the mother and the parents, it's particularly critical that the therapist is able to have this capacity to be like the mother of separation, who could be with the patient, emotionally present, attuned, empathic, but not at that moment impinging with interpretations about any unconscious motives. So this is all related to Winnicott's understanding of how developmental experience is also part of the therapeutic experience and of the action of the psychoanalyst, not just interpretively, but also in the way they are with the patient and their very presence, emotional presence without impinging, being so important for the patient, just like the child with the mother of separation, needing another who could be with them and recognize them and be emotionally present without demanding anything from them at that moment, but being present with them. Now, the capacity to be alone is also, this means that when the person has this experience, they internalize the mother who could be with them in this way. And if they internalize that, then they can have the capacity to be alone rather than being driven into addictions or other self-sabotaging, destructive behavior in their life to get away from being alone. Because when there's an inner state of void or emptiness, rather than an internalized mother who allows them to feel that someone is with them when they're alone, when they don't have that, they can have a void or emptiness that just drives them and frantically into escaping, either into, it could be love addiction, it could be alcoholism, it could be many forms of addiction, to get away from the experience of being alone when they haven't internalized this good enough mother experience that D.W. Winnicott talks about, where another is with you in your internal world, that's been internalized to be with you in your internal world. And I also want to say something about loneliness, because one needs some of this internalized mother experience to be able to feel the experience of loneliness too, as opposed to the void or emptiness. And when we speak about abandonment depression, as James Masterson has done, often someone can go from void and emptiness, but then having the therapist to be with them over time can go from that into other affects of rage and then mourning, and then get to a place where they can feel loneliness but not void. And it's interesting because Melanie Klein, one of her last papers was on loneliness, and she herself had a loneliness that she was relating to through speaking about patients. So she had that inner mother enough to feel loneliness and not just a void or emptiness, but she had a narcissistic mother, as I write about in my book, The Klein-Winnicott Dialectic. In the Klein-Winnicott Dialectic book, I contrast Winnicott and Klein and their lives and how their theories were related to having very different mothers. So Winnicott was able to get to a state where he could tolerate the capacity to be alone, and he became more capable of sexual intimacy with his second wife. And he became more capable of solitude, which allows creativity as well as lovemaking and love connection. Melanie Klein had more of a sense of her loneliness, and so she wrote about how one's unconscious aggression against others can create a loneliness. And this had to do with also aggression towards her inner mother and from her inner mother. So Winnicott and Klein were quite different, and in their older years, Winnicott moved more towards the capacity to be alone and to have solitude for creative work. Melanie Klein was extremely creative, but she did suffer from a great deal of loneliness, and she never did remarry after her earlier divorce, whereas Winnicott had a good second marriage. So it's interesting how in everything Winnicott writes, he was influenced by Melanie Klein, and his very original theory of the true and false self, and how the true self develops through a mother allowing the capacity to be alone and being internalized as this other who could be there in a loving, attuned way. He was talking about his understanding of what a good enough mother is. He had a mother who needed him to mother her, but as he developed in his thinking, he worked with mothers and children and found out what a good enough mother was in relation to the true self-development. And when he talks about the true self versus the false self, he also talks about reparation of the true self versus manic reparation. And when he does, he's bringing in Melanie Klein's theory of true versus manic reparation. He talked about true versus false self. She talked about true versus manic reparation. So in everything Winnicott wrote, there's traces of Melanie Klein's influence on his very original thinking. So I always have a dialectic in my mind of D.W. Winnicott and Melanie Klein, and that's why one of my books is called The Klein-Winnicott Dialectic, Transformative News, Metapsychology and Interactive Clinical Theory, published in 2014 and still very much available for you to read. Thank you very much for joining me today.